Hey everybody, I'm Belinda Sandor. Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. Today we're going to talk about how to facilitate meetings for your clients using Zoom. Let's get started. Hey everybody, I'm Belinda Sandor. Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. Today we're going to talk about both tactical and practical advice for your VA business. Now these tips are for you if you're just starting out or you've been a VA for a while. So I see a lot of you coming in. I would love to hear where you're coming in from. So put that in the comments for me, okay? So Lessons from the Cockpit is brought to you by the VA Connection. And at the VA Connection, we work with new, aspiring, and established virtual assistants to help them build a thriving business no matter where they are on their journey. And we do this in our free online community, our courses, and our coaching programs. So today we're going to talk about how to facilitate Zoom meetings for your clients. And before we dive in, I am going to introduce myself to you. And you guys are telling me where you're coming in from. That's great. Awesome. Keep telling me. So this is me and my little daughter, Emily, when she was 9 and I was just starting out as a virtual assistant. And this was really hands down one of the scariest times in my life. And, I was a few months shy of my 50th birthday. And I think the thing that was the scariest for me is, so how every time we have a big O birthday, the big 3-0, the big 4-0, the big 5-0, I had expectations of where I would be. And the part that was scary for me was that I was nowhere close. I was nowhere close to where I thought I was going to be. And that was very unnerving. I was like really, out of my lane, out of my box, however you want to put it. And, I expected that when I was 50 or, turning 50, I'd be happily married. I'd be financially secure. I'd own a home. I'd have a great job, all of those things. And I expected I'd be happy. I would have expected that I would have figured it out by then, but that's not where I was. I was pretty much the global opposite. I'm getting divorced, have to sell my house because I haven't been able to pay the mortgage for a year. I owe the IRS a mountain of back taxes. I hadn't filed my taxes for 7 years. I didn't have a job. And so there was nothing about me that felt secure, or safe. And I think one of the things about virtual assistants that's interesting is that one of the ways, most of the time, VAs, I found, in terms of their personality, they like things to be organized. They like things to be ordered, and they like to know what to expect, right? And so we provide that for our clients. And we do that, and we're good at it because we need it for ourselves, right? And so here I am at this place where nothing is lined up, right? Nothing is lined up, and I had to figure it out because I needed to take care of this little girl, right? And did I mention I didn't have a job? I didn't have a job. So I'm like, okay. So I'm here, thankfully, to tell you that even though back then I thought it was too late, I thought I was just going to be living in the land of, really minimum payments forever. At 62, I just turned 62 last week. I was totally wrong. And I know a lot of you guys know my story and how I turned everything around. But essentially, I decided I wanted to do admin work. I had a business before that failed. I'd been out of corporate for about 10 years. And so in a lot of ways, I was starting from scratch. So I started temping, and I'm thinking, okay, this is good. I like the work. I like being back in the workforce. But what I realized was that I wasn't going to be able to make enough money temping. Right. And I needed flexibility. And so I thought, okay, what if I just go direct? What if I don't, the clients are paying a higher amount because they're paying the temp agency. What if I just go direct and people hire me and I'm able to earn all of the money? Okay. So I just started telling everybody I knew. So I'm at the school bus stop one day. One of the dads says to me, what's new? And I say, well, I've been temping thinking about going out on my own. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to offer admin support for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And he was so happy because he'd started a business just a couple of months before, and I had no idea, which is really good because I got to tell you, I probably wouldn't have said anything to him because I would have thought that he thought that I thought that we thought that I was going to try to get hired, right? All of that overthinking. And but I told him, and he was so excited. And we went to the local ice cream shop, later that week, or maybe even that afternoon. I don't honestly remember. And we talked about working together. He hired me, and I did these really everyday things for him that I already knew how to do. Like I organized his email. I downloaded software and put it on his employees' computers. I paid his bills. I set up his QuickBooks because I learned how to do that in corporate, and he was over the moon. My next client I got in a wedding buffet line, and at a wedding reception. And so I want you to know that I don't want you to waste your time prospecting. I don't want you to waste your time on figuring out a niche. I just want you to tell everybody that you know, okay? Tell everybody that you know and get them on your email list. So if we, so as a result of that, as a result of telling everyone I know, I've been in business as Rocket Girl Solutions since 2010. I've worked with over 200 clients, and I've made over $1 million, you guys, no kidding, from the chair I'm sitting in right now, in a corner of my house. The first year I made $70,000, and every year for the next 10 years, I made $100,000 or more. And if we fast forward, this is what it looks like today, which is very different from what it looked like when I was sliding into my 50th birthday. This is my new husband, Greg. We got married the summer of 2021. And these are our kids, Emily and Greg's 4 boys, David, Charlie, Stephen, and Andy. And everything is different. My finances are handled, no more minimum payments, no more barely getting by. And I have to admit, it took a while to get used to that. There are still times when, I just booked a hotel room for my nephew's wedding for Emily and Greg and I in May. And, I paid for it. And before it would have been, what credit card can I pay down so I can put that on the credit card, because you have to pay with the credit card to get a hotel, are really maneuvering around. And there would have just been a lot of stress and a lot of struggle and frankly dread, and a little resentment. Like, okay, instead of going to my nephew's wedding and thinking, oh my gosh, this is so great, the first grandchild, it would have been like, I can't afford this and I have to do it. It was just a struggle all the time. It was a struggle all the time. And so it is such a relief to be able to breathe again and to have all of those things handled and the back taxes filed. And, some of it is still in my life. I absolutely am still paying the IRS. I am absolutely still paying them, but I know when it's going to be over. I know when it's going to be over. And that's a relief too, to be able to look at my life and wake up, not stressing out, not worrying about being overdrawn. And it was really all about looking at my life, just deciding to be self-reliant and walk through this journey of really so much personal development and professional development to being a successful virtual assistant. And if you want that, you can have that too. Okay, good. So let's see who's here. Tori's here. Hello. And Tristy. Good morning, Dana. Hi, Callie. Hello, Kiara. Hello, Frederica is here from Amsterdam. Excellent. We've got somebody in Maryland. We've got Louise. Hi, Louise. How's it going? From Luxembourg. I have to add Luxembourg to the, whenever people ask me, is this an international solution? I don't think I say Luxembourg. And I know you're there, so I'm going to add that. Yeah, Dana says, totally can relate, not where I thought I would be. Hello, Catherine. Hello. Yeah, I know, you guys. I know. Christina's here. Yes, and hello from St. John's, Florida. Hello. All right, who's ready to talk about Zoom and facilitating calls? The thing about this is let's just move into this. Facilitating meetings for clients is a great service to offer. Now, it sounds really scary, and I'm going to break it down so that you know that it's not. Now, sometimes things go wrong, if any of you wants to see what could go wrong, you can go right on over. I think it's, I don't have the URL on the top of my head, but it's in the Facebook challenge group, and it's in the VA connection group. So on Friday, I had a meeting, a 3-hour meeting called the VA Client Kickstart Workshop. And Mandy was there with me. Mandy is one of the members of my team. And thank goodness that I had her helping me, because I lost audio. My computer froze. It was kind of epic example of all of things that can go wrong. The only thing that didn't go wrong was I didn't look at the internet. Everything else went wrong. I had to read my computer. Mandy had to go into Dropbox and find my slides, and she had the January slides and I had the March slides, and I had changed them and not uploaded them because I thought I'm just on my computer. I even actually bought a new computer just so this would go well. So I was in a hotel room. That's why all this happened. I was in a hotel room in Virginia going to watch Emily ride in a show the next day, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but we pulled through it, and and we made it work. And the key to all of this is to remain calm, because when you're facilitating, it is one of the most what's the word I want to use? You want to be 100% paying attention when you are facilitating a meeting for someone. There's no room for multitasking. There's no room, for any of that. And so I want you to know that it's not here we go. It's not a passive activity. Okay. Facilitating a Zoom meeting is one of the most focus intensive things that you can do. So just know that, because I used to do them, years and years ago when I was just starting out, and it seemed like, oh, I can do other stuff. You really can't. You really can't, because when things started to go downhill a little bit on Friday, when I said Mandy's name, she needed to be listening for that. She needed to be listening for that. Okay. So definitely know that, that there's a lot of reasons why clients would want you to do this. One is maybe they're not technical. Maybe there's a lot of details to take care of. We're going to talk about that. And they want to focus 100% of their attention, on the presentation. Now, the types of meetings that you can facilitate, some of them are training sessions, and so let's talk about that for a minute. So for those of you who have ever been in the VA Client Kickstart Challenge, you know that Mandy's there with me. So she's there with me for a number of reasons. One, she's, if we're doing a session on Zoom, she's letting people in the room, because the last thing the presenter wants to do, and I know this because the first Kickstart Challenge I did do this, is be focusing on letting people in the room. You really don't want to be focusing on that. You want to be focusing 100% as the presenter on the camera, paying attention to what's going on. The other thing is questions. And as the presenter, when it's a larger group, it's important that that the questions be in an organized way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. How you might participate with the person, with your client. Also, sometimes there'll be coaching sessions. One of my clients, Diane, how I work with her, and when I facilitate her sessions. So let me jump back for a minute. So what Mandy does during the Kickstart Challenge is she pulls all the questions out. She puts them in a spreadsheet. She's there to, like I said, to let people in if we're on Zoom, and also just, to put links in the chat. I might mention something. Sometimes I mention a blog post, and she'll go over to the blog and put it in the chat. She'll put links to replays. She puts links to the workshop. So basically, she's just managing all the things in the background. Now, we've discussed this ahead of time. So she has a page with all the links, all the information, and we make sure that's up to date before we go, into the session. So the second type of thing that happens sometimes are coaching sessions, like group coaching sessions. And I've been a participant where my coach has had her VA in the room, and I've also been in the room when my clients have had group coaching sessions. Sometimes we've done something like, for my client Diane, what she's doing is she's giving feedback and training people how to present. So they submit a video ahead of time. So I actually play the video for the group. And with Diane, I'm not on camera at all. So they know that I'm there. But I'm not on camera. I'm really just like the Wizard of Oz, making things happen behind the scenes. The other thing that we do is when people in the room give feedback about the presentation video that I share, I'm taking notes and I'm sharing my screen with a Word document, and I'm typing all of the notes in a way that's a large font so everyone can see and then get the feedback. So it's almost like I'm in front of the room with an easel and a giant pad. But what I'm doing is I'm taking notes on a screen that I'm sharing so that the participants can see it. So that's probably the most complex way that happens. And we practiced. We had practice sessions. We took notes, so everybody knew their part. And for Diane, I don't know the details of the finances, but it was a double-digit kind of session for her with a very high level client. And so it was worth it for her to practice, invest my time, and I got paid for all of that. The practice, the discussion, all of that I got paid for, and also the session, right? And also the session. The other thing that you might be asked to do, and I've never done this before, but if your client is not using Zoom and they're live streaming like I am right now using StreamYard, I have been in sessions where my coach is on camera like this, and her VA is in StreamYard as well. You can give them a link, and she cannot be on the screen but be available. So if I were to say, if it was Mandy or Malou, Mandy, can you please, put in the chat whatever it is I want to have in the chat. You can do that as well. So StreamYard is another tool. And if you are, if you're in the VIP club, there is a training on StreamYard. And the VIP club is our professional organization that you can join after you graduate from VA school. But there is a training in there if you're interested in looking at that a little bit more deeply. Okay. All right. So put your questions if you guys have questions. Now, there are different levels of participation that you may offer to your client. All right. So when I first started out with Michael Katz, he was my second client that I got at the wedding buffet line. So Frederica's asking, where is that training? That training is in the vault. That training is in the vault. And, and I'll make a note and post that somewhere. So StreamYard training. Let me just jot that down. And I'll put it in the VIP club. I'll put a link to that. You're welcome. Yeah. And maybe it's time to do that again, because we haven't done that for a while. Maybe freshen that up a little bit. So there's different levels of participation. The first level that I did when I was first working with Michael Katz, when we did trainings years and years ago, he was my client who said, I want to do webinars. I don't know how. Can you figure it out? And he paid me to figure it out. So I was not participating at all during the session. I did not open my mouth ever, and I was not on camera, and that was my happy place. In fact, we started doing these before Zoom. I don't think Zoom was even invented. We used a tool called ReadyTalk, and there were no cameras. Now that I think about it, it was just screen sharing. So I did not participate at all, other than troubleshooting. And then when with my client Diane, I was very proactive. And then I've done other events as well, like with my client Bob. What I do for him, and I do this for Michael Katz now, we've changed the way we work together, but I'll be there before the session, letting people in, warming them up, like, hi, so glad you're here. Where are you coming in from? And, telling them, we'll be getting started at the top of the hour. So glad you're here, just sort of warming everybody up. And then I'll say something like, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Michael. I'm going to turn it over to you, Bob, and then I go back into the background. Now, sometimes what I'll do, and again, I want you to ask your client what type of support they need. You don't want to assume this, because the thing to remember is they're likely nervous too, because they're just regular people, right? And even if they've done a lot of presentations and live streams and things like that, it's live video in front of people. So they may have some nerves. And so you want to make sure that you are 100% there for him. It's really all about, it's kind of like if you ever watch a tennis match and, the person who runs across the court and grabs the ball and keeps going, they're invisible, but man, they're important. But their job is to just speed over, get rid of the ball, and bring it back. And how I want you to think about yourself, because that's kind of the feeling of it. All right. Now, sometimes I will always watch the chat and answer questions, not content related questions, but like, is there going to be a replay, or is this being recorded? Things like that. But I never touch the content. But what I will do is say, when it's relevant and there's a break, Michael or Bob will take a sip of, their drink, and I'll say, there's a comment in the chat that I'd like to bring to your attention, something like that. And you want to use the fewest amount of words possible. And I learned this when you need to get your client's attention, if they're in the middle of a presentation, something's wrong, their microphone's not working, you want to say their name. Michael, give him a sec, right? You got to get his attention. Okay. So my client, Diane, taught me that. I would say, Diane, and then she would be like, she would come into focus with me, and I'd say, your microphone's not working. Can you move it closer? But again, this is not a time you're like on the stage, you're on your client's stage. And so you really want to think about the fewest words possible to get the point across, and never make it about you, right? You never want to make a joke. You never want to, impede in any way. It's really about being in service. Okay. Now, I will tell you, I did not mention this, but I didn't include this in the presentation, but while I think about it, I have been a lot of people who have been in presentations when I'm facilitating, because they see that I'm in service, that I'm cool, I'm calm, and I'm thoughtful. They've hired me to do that kind of work and other kind of work. So just know that it's kind of like a discovery call in a way, because they're seeing you in action. They're seeing you in action. I'm going to talk about all the different things that you can, that you're going to do. All right. So let's talk about pre-event. Okay. So before the event, you could set up, if this is a paid event, it would be a sales page, right? So a sign up page. You could use Eventbrite. You can use WordPress. I've used Infusionsoft. I've used Jot Forms. I've used Gravity Forms. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can set that up. For the most part, my clients, they set up they write the words, they give me the pictures. I usually don't set up the sales page very often, but what I'll do is I'll insert the part, like the credit card processing part, the Jot form, the Gravity form, whatever it is. I also set up the thank you page. So after someone pays, it's like, thank you for signing up. Watch your email inbox, for an email with more information. Sometimes, depending on the software that you're using, you might set up what are called automations, like adding a tag when they sign up. Like I said, the credit card processing, sending them an email, thanking them for signing up with the information that they need, to join the Zoom call. All right. Sometimes I've spent, the other thing that I do is send out the invitation. So let's say they have, an email list of however many hundreds or thousands. They write the email, I put it into MailChimp or Infusionsoft or ConvertKit or whatever it is, and I send that out for them. And sometimes I've trained and practiced with my clients. I mentioned with Diane, because it was very, very scripted, and she is very buttoned up. So we really got it down. And here's an example of that. She likes me to be on camera and ready 15 minutes before. What she is doing 15 minutes before is warming up her voice, talking out nervous energy. This is not a time for me to say anything other than, good morning, I'm ready to go. And then I might sit there for 15 minutes not saying anything. That's not my time to go to the bathroom. That's not my time to get my tea. That's not my time to get ready. That's my time for me to literally sit there while she's figuring it out, while she's getting ready, and to say things like, when appropriate, you look great. The setup is terrific. I can hear you clearly. Things like that, right? And to answer questions again quickly, because you're sort of what did she used to call me? The production manager, or maybe it was the stage manager. I don't remember. She has a theatrical background, but she's warming her voice up. So I'm literally for 15 minutes sitting there quietly answering questions with this, yes, no, like that. Okay. Good. All right. So let's see. What else do I want to tell you about? Sending out the invitations. Oh, sometimes a client will want to know who's coming, so I send them the participant list. So that's something that's nice to offer to them, so they can say, "Oh, my friends are, this friend's going to be here, this client's going to be here," and they can be prepared. All right. So these are the things that happen pre-event. All right. Now during the event, welcome the participants. Again, check with the client. Do they want you to talk? Do they want your face on the screen? Or do they just want you to be sitting there? Okay. Start the recording. So let me tell you my tip for starting the recording. I take a Post-it and I write recording on it. Once I go into the room, it's not usually time to start the recording right away, and I don't want to edit it. I do not put this piece of paper down that says recording. I've even sometimes have it in my hand, and I put another Post-it right in the middle of my screen that says start the recording. Not starting the recording is that's a really bad thing, because a lot of times clients are going to send the replay. They might use it for something else. So do not put the piece of paper down until you hit record. Okay. Really critical. Sometimes, as I mentioned, I introduce the speaker. I usually don't do like a bio, but if the client wanted me to, I would do that and I would practice it. But usually I just say, okay, Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you. It's the top of the hour. Okay. And then also fielding questions, making sure that the client knows about the questions that are in the chat. Okay. So put any questions you have about this, in the chat. Now, I want to talk a little bit about screen sharing, because usually the client's doing the screen sharing. In the case of Diane, I was doing the screen sharing. And I want you to know a couple of things. I want you to know that you can actually share your iPhone or your iPad in Zoom. And for those of you who are either VA school students or VA school graduates, if you go over to, I think it's in module 1, and I explain how to install the Kajabi app so that you can bring VA school with you on your phone or your tablet. I actually did that. So there's a way I've only done it once, just that one time when I made that recording for you guys. But you attach this to Zoom, your phone or your tablet to Zoom, and you can share your screen. It's really cool. So just keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing I want to show you, and you can't really see it here. Let me make this larger. Right down here, it says share computer sound. So when you share the screen, like for example, during the Kickstart challenge, when during the group surprise, when I'm sharing the drum roll, I usually remember to click this button so the drum roll will come through everybody's speakers. The other thing that is right down here at the bottom, it says optimize screen sharing for video clip. So if you're sharing a video like I was sharing when I was working with my client Diane, you want to click that button as well. And here's the thing, once you click it, you don't need to click it again. So for example, if I share a screen and then I stop and then I share screen and I stop during the same session, those boxes will remain clicked. So what I usually do is when I'm getting ready to work with the client and I go on, I will share any screen because it's just me and the client, click those buttons and then stop the share so they're all set. Okay, so that they're all set. And you guys, this is 12 years of experience, 12 years of experience. Okay, so my point is that if you're thinking, wow, she's thinking about everything, that's because I screwed everything up. Okay, or I didn't think of it and I learned. And here's one of the things that I want to talk about is there's definitely an after event sequence. And I finally made a checklist for this because I used to forget afterward. It's like, we're done, and like, we're not done. Okay. So what you need to do after the event is download the recording, right, from Zoom, the MP3 and the chat, because likely the MP3 is the audio. Likely your client's going to want a copy of that. And I know that's part of my work for all of my clients is downloading that, putting it in a folder that we share So I would have an events folder, and then under that I would have, whatever the event's called. And if they run it multiple times, I'll have the date. And in that folder, I put the participant list, depending on what the client wants. But some of the things that could go in there: participant list, the MP3, the video itself, the chat, any text that we might want to save that was written specifically for that event that we might want to use again. Okay. Sometimes I need to edit the recording. If there's like an intro, like we do in the Kickstart Challenge, there's 5 minutes of video, we edit that off before we send the replay out. Sometimes clients will want you to add captions. So closed captions down at the bottom. Great software for that is Veed.io. So Veed.io. And what you can do is you can run the video through the software, and it takes its best guess at all the words. It gets pretty close. And then you can go in and change the words. You can style the captions. You can make it, long, blue, black, whatever color that you want. Then the other thing is sometimes we talked about storing the assets, meaning the MP3 and all of that. The other thing is sometimes we need to upload the video to either Vimeo or what's the other one called? Vimeo or Wistia. Those are video hosting platforms. You can also use YouTube as well. There's a lot of reasons to do that. One is to not store the video on the client's website, which could bog down performance. The other is you can control a lot more. You can control the final screen they see. You can control, what it says at the top. There's just a lot of visual control that you have when you host the video on something like Vimeo or Wistia, as opposed to just putting it up on their website. So just something to think about, not always necessary, but it's good to know. Sometimes we send a follow-up snail mail. So Michael Katz, for example, I would send a postcard using an online service to everyone that was at the event, thanking them for coming. You could also send out note cards. And then I also sent out emails with the replay. I like to do that within 24 hours. And the clients really like it if you do that, because, the touch is high, that it's like while they're in it, you want to keep that momentum going. Sorry for all the ringing and dinging. Let me turn that down. And then customer service emails. Inevitably, I didn't get the link for the webinar. I can't find the replay. My credit card didn't go through, all of that kind of stuff. Want to make sure I'm registered. And so again, you want to be very polite, brief, to the point, and help with the clients. And again, keep in mind that people are watching you in a good way. They're seeing your professionalism, they're seeing how much you care, and they might hire you. I really have I have had a lot of people who have seen me do webinars for clients hire me. All right. Now I want to tell you about a networking hack. Okay, I mean, not networking. I'm sorry, note-taking hack. The note-taking hack, and I got this from Leanne Burnett, who is in the VIP club and a VA school graduate. Closed captioning is now part of what's possible on Zoom. You used to have to pay for it. Now just Google it, click a couple of buttons, and it's included with your service. If you enable closed captioning, the words are not all accurate, but what Leanne does, when she note takes for a client, she turns on closed captioning, and then at the end of the meeting, she saves it. Before the meeting ends, you have to click a button to save the transcript. And so then when she's doing note taking, she's got this big giant block of text, right? Pretty ugly. But she can go through and take out this whole paragraph and, change those words and, put in punctuation. And so it's a really cool way to take notes without using your hands, and then go clean it up afterward. So, so consider that as well. When I heard about that, I was like, oh, she is so smart. So, ask your friends. There's a lot of different things to learn. I also learned from her about Veed.io. No one had ever asked me to do closed captions before. And Leanne, like I said, is part of the VIP club, and we do training sometimes where members train us, and she trained us on that, and it was really awesome. It was really awesome. All right, you guys, any comments, questions? I hope this was useful and sort of, distilled the mystery of the whole facilitating meetings for clients. They love having their virtual assistants on the calls with them. And I got to tell you, I would not ever do the Kickstart Challenge or, a lot of the things that we have going on at the VA Connection without Mandy or another person on my team on the call, because there's just such a sense of calm that is provided when I know I can just say, when Mandy said to me, the audio is not working, I was like, okay, I'm not alone here. We got this. We got this. So really remain calm and creative. Okay. One more thing I didn't think of. You want to make sure that when you're on the meeting with the client, it's okay to use your Zoom account. I do that with Michael Katz just because I want to make sure. I just want to make sure. But make sure you're the co-presenter of that meeting so that you can see all the controls and manage all the controls. You don't want to just be on there as is it co-host? I guess it's not co-presenter. It's called co-host. So you want to make sure that you're promoted. Your client will click on the 3 dots next to your name and give you that access so that you can see everything and you're not just there as a participant. Oh, and I'm just thinking of other things too. You want to also watch for people who are not muted or unmute themselves, who have background noise. They mostly don't know they're doing it. So what will happen is when some background noise presents itself, a little yellow box will go around their window and you just hit mute. So that's something that you can do as well. All right, lots of information, cool topic. Thank you for coming. It's great to see so many of you here. And I want to invite you to join our Facebook group. I know we have a lot of people who joined the Kickstart Challenge that we had for the last 2 weeks. They're new in VA school, and I want to make sure you know about the VA Connection. So this is our online community. We have free trainings every single week, like this Lessons from the Cockpit. We also have something called the Rocket Girl Show on Thursdays. If you're new, go over there and click on the guides, and you're going to find a ton of videos right there for you. There's 4 freebies there. I think there's like 25 or plus interviews with people who have worked with me, telling you all about what their life is like being a virtual assistant. So we spent a lot of time getting that all set up for you. So be sure to check that out, the VA Connection. Okay. Good. All right. Have a great rest of your day. For those of you in the community, we have lots of things scheduled this week. I'm very excited. I'm going to see the VIPers today. I'm also going to see the brand new cohort of VA school. We're meeting this afternoon. And then we have office hour. No, we don't. We have study hall today at 5. Lots going on. So I'll see you guys all day long. Bye for now.